I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsor, Viatris, for their support. Advocacy is a wonderful thing. It inspires so many people, and that's what I think about Chad Eddy, who you will meet today in today's podcast. Chad has two nieces with cystic fibrosis, and one lost her battle to CF in 2017, and we talk about them. And we talk about Chad, who is running 6.5 miles in 6.5 hours for 65 straight hours, all to raise $65,000 for the cystic fibrosis research. So it's been an extraordinary challenge for Chad, and it's wonderful to be able to share what he's doing and this film. The film that's called Generation Cure. He isn't just a runner, he is an uncle, and he says, and he'll tell us, that he has been driven by love and loss. This is his sister's daughters. And in this episode, we talk about kind of what sparked his desire to do this, and now Chad is kind of just raising awareness and going around and talking to anyone who will listen about the film and his journey in the CF community. And as we talked about, we're such a tight-knit group, so it's good to talk and to share each other's stories and just to keep raising awareness. So it's time to bring in Chad to talk about all that he's done and continues to do in the fight for a cure for cystic fibrosis. I'm so excited to talk to you about you, the reason why, the film, everything. So
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
And let's start with the film. It's called Generation Cure.
Correct.
And why did you want to do this film?
Yeah. Primarily to keep getting the word out and to keep driving engagement and keeping the world engaged in the fight to find a cure for CF. I'm an uncle to two nieces born with CF, so that's kind of behind my purpose in all of this. But it was an opportunity. I've been running 65 miles in 65 hours. It was an opportunity. I came across Brett Langhoff and his team, that this is what they do. They film short film documentaries. And as I was telling them my story and sharing a little bit about what I was doing with the 65 miles in 65 hours, it was really their vision. I had no intention of recording this stuff, but Brett took this idea and ran with it, and I'm so grateful he did.
He took it and he ran with it. I like that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Pun intended. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And so what does it show you? The link to the film is in our show notes, so people should definitely watch it. But is it just about your running? Is it inspiring? Kind of give us a little trailer about what it is.
Yeah, well, that's a good call. Right now, it's just a trailer. The actual documentary will come out in Q1, kind of late Q1, early spring next year. So they're still doing a lot of editing and fine tuning. So we've got the trailer put together. Yeah, the film, it's certainly not about me. I think I'm obviously one of far too many families impacted by CF and still doing everything we can to raise money for the foundation and ultimately find a cure. So, yeah, the film captures me, and I had 8 others join me running or biking 65 miles in this 65-hour window, which was a part of Rose Up, which was, a national fundraising day for the CF Foundation. So, yes, that is what the film captures, but really it's wrapped with, the story of how CF impacts patients, how CF impacts families, and we've got folks from the CF Foundation that are going to include some of the latest and greatest statistics and progress that we've made.
It's great advocacy. It's inspirational. Have been thinking a lot about advocacy, and I think, like so many, you just, prior to that description, kind of downplayed your role. Like it's such a big, but every individual role is so important. And you've already inspired me, the little that I know about you. I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. And is it other 8 people or 7 more people that are in it? Do they all have CF, or are they caregivers? What's their relationship to the CF community?
The majority of them are just friends and family that just were supporting me. I did it a couple of years ago as well, on my own, kind of on a whim. So it was a bit awkward being out there running by myself, posting and promoting on social media, trying to drive awareness. So this year, friends and family who saw what I did last year got involved. But we did have one individual who is an adult living with CF run as well. He and his wife joined us, which was just amazing because really that, he's the story that, here's an adult living with CF running 65 miles in 65 hours and the things that CF patients can now do thanks to advancements in our treatments and medication, and the fact that we're not done.
And people may wonder, is this runner, is he on Trikafta, or is he the 10% or more that is not able to be on Trikafta?
Yeah, he is on Trikafta. Exactly.
It's night and day. Huge difference, as I see with my daughters, what it does to their ability to run. My daughter's actually going to run in a marathon in 2026. So half
Fantastic.
marathon, I believe.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it's unbelievable and fantastic.
Yeah.
And what does your surviving niece think about this? What impact does it have on her?
Yeah, it's interesting. She qualifies for Trikafta and has no effect on her. So, so that, we're kind of in that portion of the community that Trikafta doesn't have an effect on.
You're saying it has no impact, not making any change, not correcting the cells in her body at all.
Correct.
Wow, that must have been very emotionally difficult for not only her, but her parents and you.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't talk about it a ton as a family. She's definitely living her best life and doing well. But, when I have asked her about, kind of her treatments and medication and how things are going, we don't talk about it a ton, but she did share she tried it. It really had no impact on her, so she stopped.
Wow. Well, we're hoping that all these smaller companies that I just met and talked to, some of these recent startups, there's so much hope out there for either a nebulizer, a pill, gene editing. There's just a lot of hope.
Yeah, which is great. One of the things I learned being on the board of the CF Foundation here in Columbus, we call it the Trikafta effect, where what we've seen is a decline in participation, a decline in donations, a decline in the size of donations, this perception that because of the amazing progress that we're done, that CF has been cured, and as we know, it has not been cured. And I think time is of the essence for so many of us, and we're still pushing and needing to push and find those companies that are willing to dedicate all their time and resources to helping improve the lives of patients with CF and ultimately find the cure. I mean, that was my dream when my second niece was born with CF was, I want to make sure that our generation is the one that finds the cure.
And that's a really good point about donations, because I do think so many people thought, oh, this is it. This is a cure. Everything's fine. Now you're on it. Oh, your girls, they must be fine. They're never hospitalized. All
Hmm.
is well. It's a wonderful change in the disease, but it's not a cure. And then, as the founder of the Bonnell Foundation, we know that in 2026, the demand for financial assistance is skyrocketing just because of the status of the way healthcare is today. So the need is higher than ever since our foundation's been around. We need so much more money for research, as always. So that's a really good point that I'm glad you brought up, because I don't think I talk about that enough. So thank you for mentioning that.
Of course, of course. And as you know, when you find a cure, um, it's not a flip of a switch one day. You've got to administer it and support it. And to your point, those the cost of that care is not getting cheaper. And I think in particular with CF, because it's a genetic condition and there's different mutations, it'll be interesting to see how science and the treatments and the medications keep up with the mutations. As you know, more and more patients are being born with CF every year, so it's not stopping.
Right. And there are side effects. There's side effects to Trikafta as well,
Yeah,
different side effects for different people. So it is challenging. I just want everyone to know that we are not going to mention your niece's names, because that is the way they like it. One niece, as we mentioned in the introduction, did pass from CF, and
yeah,
your other niece is living her life and just doesn't want her name used, and we will definitely respect that.
awesome. Thank you.
What has doing this film, I know it's not completed yet, but what has it done to your morale and your advocacy, and your fight to keep going?
Yeah, it's shined a whole new light on, the impact we can have. You mentioned earlier, just one person at a time, all of us matter, and everything we do matters. And I think, learning that there's a decline in support and a decline in participation. With that, what I've learned in all of my activities that I've done over the years to raise money and awareness for CF, there are still so many people that don't have a cause to attach to. They're still looking for causes to support and give their time, money, and energy to. And I just always wonder how many of them haven't we reached yet that could have a real impact for us to be the generation that finds the cure. And as you know, we can only do so much in our little worlds. And the idea that capturing, our 65 miles in 65 hours and the stories around it is going to go to film festivals around the world and spread this message is really nothing I would have thought of. So that has really energized me because you never know what's going to come of this. I feel like, as we know, CF is considered a rare disease, so meaning it doesn't impact enough people, which always just makes me so angry. Tell that to my sister who lost her daughter to CF. But everywhere I go, and it just happened to me last week, meeting with people who are strangers or colleagues that I don't know all that well, have either been impacted by CF or grew up with friends who are impacted by CF or know families who have been impacted by CF. So I think our connection out in the world is much greater than the numbers show. And so I'm excited for what the film is going to do for us in terms of just expanding our community and expanding our support.
And that's another great point by you, Chad, because I find that too. Every time I talk about cystic fibrosis, someone says, oh, my neighbor or my
Right.
friend in school, or I knew somebody, or my mom's friend, and then you either re-engage them because they want to do something in the CF community, or it's a brainstorm and you think, oh, we used to do this sort of fundraiser, or how
Yeah.
can we do something else? The people that you have talked to, and I'm sure Brett too, because I watched some of the clips that you did on your local television stations. It's really inspired him and educated him about cystic fibrosis.
Yeah, no question. And that's the other fun part, is you run into people who maybe have heard of it or maybe haven't heard of it, but certainly don't know the impacts of it or the ins and outs of it. So, and again, we had a runner, an adult living with CF, that Brett and his team went out and interviewed, and I know they came back extremely motivated. After talking with Adam and his wife. So, that was cool. I have my impact. I'm an uncle to two nieces born with CF, so I only have my perspective and my limited view. But I think, with their involvement in the film, and again, Brett's vision of what we could do with the film, has certainly gotten him excited and motivated.
And tell us about you. Like, what do you do for a living? Just because we want to know a little bit about you. Do you have kids? Just fill us in about what you do.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'll start with I'm the youngest of six. So, come from a big family, the youngest of six, which is, kind of interesting when you think of CF as a genetic condition. We had no awareness about CF at all. So, when my sister had two of her three daughters born with CF, obviously it was very eye-opening and educational for all of us. So, anyway, youngest of six, live here in Columbus, Ohio. What I do for a living, I am what's called a EOS implementer. EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So it's a complete system of real world tools and disciplines that I get to teach entrepreneurs and their leadership teams to help them run a great business and live a great life. I was an entrepreneur myself for a while, so I've run a couple of businesses. I've failed with some startups myself, and I've had some experience running my companies on EOS. So it became my passion, and now I get to work with entrepreneurs and help them implement the tools and disciplines of EOS so they can run a great business and live a great life. So I love what I get to do. I love who I get to work with. I've got just a passion for entrepreneurship, so I get to spend my days with entrepreneurs, which is a ton of fun. I'm married with kids, got a daughter and a son. So my daughter is 24, my son is 21. So we're almost empty nesters, which will be
Wow.
fun and interesting. And I picked up endurance running over the years, mostly for my mental health. Just kind of running my alone time and my clarity time. And along the way, my brother-in-law asked if I would ever think of running a half marathon. You mentioned your daughter running a half marathon, and I'm like, I could never run a half marathon. Like that just seems so outlandish. And he said, okay, I'll come to Columbus and we'll run the half marathon together. So that was in 2018, I think, and I've been hooked ever since. So I've run a few marathons, I've run a bunch of half marathons, and of course now I got into the 65 miles for 65 hours. I mark up my shoes with CF and messages around CF. So, people will notice and ask what's on your shoes, and I'll get to tell them the story of cystic fibrosis. So, now running has kind of been my way of spreading the word and getting people involved.
You just gave me a great idea. I am going to do a cystic fibrosis advocacy shirt with all the names of the people who've helped with the foundation. Anyways, when it's
Mm,
done, I'll show it to you. But
I love it.
yeah, but from your shoes, when you were talking about that, I'm like, I need to do a shirt with the advocacy with everybody's names. So every time we're doing things. But anyways, that's a great idea. Thanks for
I love
that.
it. Of course.
And the entrepreneurship is great. I see why you are where you are and you're doing things. And then I wanted to ask you, all those siblings, was your sister the only one that was found to be a carrier? Because my husband has 7 siblings. He's 7 of 8. And we didn't find anyone else in the family that was a carrier.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I know I've tested. I am not a carrier. One of my other brothers tested. He is not a carrier. I don't know about the other three. My aunt on my dad's side tested, and she is a carrier. And so she tested very later in life, just out of curiosity. So yeah, that's what we know.
And isn't it interesting? It is curious. That's a good word. It's really interesting how genetics work.
It is. It is. It's mind-boggling in a lot of ways.
And I think Ohio is a great place to be, as I know more of the CF clinics there. I just went, and I know Dayton is not Columbus, but I just went and spoke there this past weekend. What a great team.
Yeah.
And then Mitch Drum is in, oh my gosh, is it Akron? But anyways, I love the CF clinics there. They have just great people.
Yeah, we have one of the head clinicians here at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus on our board, at the chapter here, and yeah, she's a wealth of knowledge. So it's great to have them close by and keeping us in tune with, what's happening in the clinics and what's happening with CF patients.
So you ran 65 miles for 65 hours. And do you do that every year now, or how often, and how do you keep training without getting injured?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, a little bit of context. When I was training for the Chicago Marathon in 2022, um, the ultra endurance community is aware of a guy by the name of David Goggins, and he does this ultra endurance challenge that he calls the 4 by 4 by 48, which is where you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And
Wow.
it's a international thing. He obviously is a big personality, very well known. So people around the globe sort of take him up on this challenge. He declares the date, and everybody does it. And it's a big social media affair kind of thing. So I did it as a part of my training for my marathon in Chicago in 2022, which I happened to be running with my niece, and we ran through the CF Foundation in Chicago. So, which when you do that, you've got to raise money to run the marathon. So I did that as a part of my fundraising, and it really accelerated my fundraising to be able to run in the marathon, kind of doing this 4 by 4 by 48 as a part of my training. And in the middle of that, I was thinking, why aren't we running 6.5 miles every 6.5 hours for 65 hours? As you know, 65 has significance in our community.
And
Young
please
kids.
share it again. Not everyone knows.
Yeah, yeah. Which again, why the number 65 is so great, because people go, "What's with the number 65? I don't get it." And you get to tell the story that early on, the mother who was fundraising for the foundation had three boys with CF, and they were overhearing her on the phone raising money for cystic fibrosis. And one of her boys approached her after one of her calls and said, "I know what you're doing." And she said, "What am I doing?" And he said, "You're raising money for 65 roses." So little kids with cystic fibrosis have trouble pronouncing cystic fibrosis, as do I sometimes. But so calling it 65 roses, the number 65, has sort of taken on its own meaning within the world of cystic fibrosis. So that's what I was thinking, like 6.5 miles every 6.5 hours for 65 hours to raise money for cystic fibrosis. So I did it last year, as I mentioned, on my own. I'm always running, so I didn't need to do a bunch of training for it. I just needed to carve out the time because it's all about increments of running 6.5 miles every 6.5 hours. So mapping out the time over the 65-hour window is part of the challenge. So start at 9 a.m., you run 6.5 miles. At 3:30 p.m., you run your next 6.5 miles. At 10 p.m., you run your next 6.5 miles. And in the case of 65 miles, you do that 10 times over 65 hours. So that was the idea. That's where it came from. I did it last year by myself, raised about $11,000 or maybe $13,000. I can't remember. Again, I didn't announce it. I just kind of got on social media and started recording videos, and the power of social media helped me raise a bunch of money. So I just decided I'm going to do it every year. And so we did it again this year, this time as a part of Rose Up, which was a national fundraising day for the CF Foundation. And I just started reaching out to, people who took an interest in what I was doing and said, "Hey, do you want to do it with me?" And, it can be intimidating, 65 miles in 65 hours. It is. It's no, walk in the park, but it's doable. So.
How can people donate if they want to? And again, we'll put it in show notes as well.
Yeah, it's great. I've got a fundraising link. We created a team on the CF Foundation's website, part of their Rose Up campaign, so I can give you that link. It is even though the
Yes.
event is over, we're fundraising throughout the year. So we're still raising money, and people are still learning about this and donating through the link. So I'll make sure you have that. And donor, when people donate, you'll see part of the Rose Up campaign. There's a bunch of teams that are still actively fundraising, and we're on the leaderboard, which feels good. So still fundraising for that, and we're still raising money for the film as well. So now that we've got the majority of the film put together, again, it was a crew that followed me around, but also uh, my friend and his wife up in Michigan, my friend down in Atlanta.
Up in Michigan, what? You
Yes,
have connections to my state?
yes, exactly. My son did it at the University of Dayton. They all had GoPros and recorded all of their activities. So they're piecing all this together, which will be a part of the film as well, which I can't wait to see.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful.
anyway, we're still raising um, funds for the production of the film. We have a sponsorship package. If anyone is interested, I'd love to share that with you. But we've got a number of sponsors already backing the film, which feels great.
I've seen a number of CF films. We're actually our little documentary is being edited now. I mean, what I'm trying to say is so many people are doing small things, all of us. And I love seeing different perspectives of what everyone is doing. Jerry Cahill, who I'm sure you know,
Of course.
with the Boomer Esiason Foundation, and Jerry has CF, and he's had 3 organ transplants,
Hmm.
lung, kidney, and liver, and he's doing great. And he did a little thing. So you learn so much from each group. So I can't wait to see the actual film. What are your hopes, not just from this film, but with what you're doing and the awareness that you're raising? What are your hopes for the CF community in the future?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's why we call the film Generation Cure. I want to see a cure for us in our generation. And it's going to take more involvement, more engagement, more funds. With 2 nieces, I kind of share this story that, when my second niece was born, I just had this moment of like, I'm not going to sit passively on the sideline and hope someone else does the work. We all have to be involved, and that's what I hope the film does, is kind of keep the community inspired and motivated to be engaged, to stay engaged, to think that we could be a generation that finds a cure for something. I believe the last cure was smallpox in 1980. Just think about that. And the gene was discovered for us in 1987, 1989. I think
Right,
1989.
1989.
Okay, 1989. That was almost, what, 40 years ago?
Yeah. Well, their sickle cell does have something of a cure, even though it's $1 million for each person, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
but worth it, of course.
For sure.
But it came from research from CF because we all partner together, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
Amazing.
But no, I like your thinking. I think a cure, we absolutely need it. And I wanted to ask you one last question too about your sister. How has this film and your involvement, I'm sure along with other siblings, but how has it helped her mentally or emotionally? It must have a great impact on her.
I hope so. We're chatting through it. And I hope it helps her and her husband and her other 2 daughters. Certainly when you go through what they've been through, it's unimaginable. And when we lost my youngest niece, their youngest daughter, um, you see the impact that has. And for me, I felt like I lost my sister at the same time. And she and I are very, very close. Of the 6 of us, we've always just been 2 peas in a pod. And so, you know, for that reason too, I'll always do whatever I can to help us find a cure for CF. And she's I hope she's proud of me. I hope she's proud, and I hope um, this, I don't know, gives them something to feel good about.
Oh, I'm sure it has. I can don't even know your sister, but I can speak on her behalf, I would say, and say that I am sure she is proud and grateful and so touched by all that you're doing everyone in the community is. It's a wonderful thing, and you're
Thank you.
all just continuously raising awareness. So thank you, for the CF community for doing that.
Thanks. It's my pleasure. So thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing all the joy that you're spreading in, a difficult disease. But, we're all really supporting each other.
For sure.
So it's wonderful.
For sure. Well, thank you. Thanks for letting me share my story, and thanks for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org.
This podcast was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.